level. This is why. Alright guys, so this is a video that was specially requested from Buck B, one of the big followers of the channel and on the live stream. So we're going to talk about two-strike approach and how I visualized this as a hitter, how I teach this to players, and it's going to go pretty in depth, okay? So be ready for, again, a few different diagrams, terminology, stuff like that I think is probably the most effective way to teach this. Remember guys, hit that like button on the video, leave a comment for what you think, and then ultimately, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, but let's get right into it. So, two-strike approach, the first thing I like to talk about with two-strike approach is the decision window. Now, the decision window to me, and this is how I define it, is the window in which you make your decision to swing, to take, stuff like that. So, before two strikes, your decision window is going to be much closer to the release point of the pitcher. Why? Because if a guy's throwing hard velocity, you have to make a decision quickly. And before two strikes, I'm not afraid to look bad if it ends up being off speed and stuff like that. I have to be on time. I have to make contact out front so that I can do damage, hit the ball in the barrel. And so my decision window is going to be closer to the release point. So I'll draw a little diagram here. If this is the mound, and here's a little stick figure pitcher, and home plate's over here. He's releasing the ball, let's just say up here, and this is the path of the pitch, okay? The path of the pitch. My decision window before two strikes is going to be like somewhere right here, right? My decision window, and again, this is a relatively drawn diagram. This is a general diagram. This is not an exact placement of where you should make the decision. I'm just giving you a general idea of before two strikes, again, I'm facing a guy with a lot of velocity. I'm in college. I'm in pro ball. I have to make that decision quickly. I can't wait for this thing to get halfway home before I'm really making that decision to swing. So with two strikes, we have to move this decision window closer to home plate. Because we can't afford to swing and miss on an off speed, right? We have to give ourselves time to read spin, read direction of the pitch, allow it to get out of the zone, and we have to make that decision as far back as possible, in time enough to foul it off if we have to fight, right? To just foul off a pitch. My general approach with two strikes was like, I'm gonna be late on a fastball, but I'm not going to be so late that I'm blown away. I'm going to be able to fight it off, manipulate my barrel, manipulate my hand just so I can clip it and stay alive. So with two strikes, this decision window is not like a massive amount closer, but it is definitely closer than before two strikes, right? Because again, guys, before two strikes, I don't care. I'm looking for a release in a certain location that, again, if I'm looking fastball and it pops up out of his hand, that's not what I'm looking for. But a guy who locates a slider well or a changeup, a lot of times going to come out in that same release as a fastball, and I can't just like be waiting to make sure it's a fastball. If it looks fastball and it's in the spot where I'm hunting, I'm pulling the trigger because I want to miss out front and I want to be doing damage if I make contact. With two strikes, I have to worry about that, right? Now, again, you watch Major League Baseball, and some places in college baseball now, it's like, hey, they don't care about striking out. I don't recommend that as a guide for someone who's trying to develop as a hitter, right? The more productive you are with two strikes, just the more productive of a hitter you will be. And what you'll find is in big games, in big situations, hitters that can get it done with two strikes ultimately impact the game, help their team win, right? So, number one, with the two-strike approach, this decision window has to get moved closer to home plate. We're letting the ball travel. When I talk to hitters, I say, let it get deep, let it travel before making your decision. Because what you'll find is right here, when it's just released, it's going to be the most difficult to pick up spin, right? Because the ball is farthest away. The closer that ball gets, and you move that decision window back just, a little bit, right? 10 feet, 5 feet, whatever it is, you're ultimately, what I discovered is with 2 strikes, when I did that, I was able to pick up that spin, that last kind of portion of moving the decision window back. Now I could see, it's got that dot, it's a slider, and it's low in the zone, it's going to be a ball. Or I could see that loose spin of a changeup and stay back in time just to fight it off, right? So when you move your decision window back, also with 2 strikes, listen, I like to choke up because if I'm going to let that ball travel, that means I got a shorter time span to fight off a fastball. So if I can choke up a little bit, give myself a little bit more barrel control, a little bit more of a direct path, a quicker path, I'm able to see the ball deep, right? With 2 strikes, I want to be able to see it as deep as possible with having the ability to still fight it off, all right? So that's number one. Move your decision window back. Let it travel. Again, the cues for that. Let it travel. Let it get deep, right? See the pitch a little bit deeper. Hit it deeper in your stance. This is going to allow you as a hitter to just give it that little extra time in making a decision, right? A 95-mile-an-hour fastball gets to the plate in like 3 to 4 tenths of a second. So when we're not talking like a massive amount of time here, we're talking tenths of seconds, hundredths of seconds, letting it get a little bit deeper. But in reality, that's the difference between you being able to lay off a close slider or fight off a fastball instead of, made a decision too quick and now I'm way out front and I can't make contact, I'm out. All right, so that's number one. Now with 2 strikes, we also have to cover, all right, and it looks like I'm going to be needing a new marker here soon. But what's your 2-strike approach in the strike zone? All right. If I'm a left-handed hitter, so again, right-handed hitters, you guys just do the opposite. I am not trying to pull the ball. I'm not trying to pull the ball. If I can pull a fastball with 2 strikes, that means I'm out on off speed. That just means I'm out, right? Pulling the ball may happen. The deeper you get into an account with 2 strikes, the deeper you get into the at-bat, you may just have that natural reaction and get to the ball quick enough. But really this section of the zone right here, I'm just thinking of fouling this off. I'm fouling this off. I'm fighting inside it. I'm not trying to turn on a ball. Because again, if I get here and it's a changeup or a slider, I'm done. Even if I can make contact, I'm probably off the end. I'm around it. It's a ground ball right to the second baseman, and I'm out. Right? So I have to stay back. I have to stay closed, and I got to let it get deep. And if it comes in, again, and this is another thing you see with hitters now, is there's not a lot of guys in today's generation of players that can manipulate the barrel. What I mean by that is mid-swing, you're in your swing, and it's going this way, and then you can pull the hands in and just fight off a fastball. Right? There's not a lot of guys who can do that. This approach will help you do it. So the second thing with the second 2-strike approach is post your first at bat. You should know, okay, is the umpire giving a couple inches off? Is he calling it down? Is he calling it up? Does he have just a very inconsistent zone in general? That means we got to expand this strike zone, right? We can't just, what I find with most high school hitters now, and you see it in college as well, is they kind of they think they're getting a big league zone, especially in high school. They think they're getting a big league zone, and they take a pitch that in the big leagues is a ball every time. And one of the things I tell them is like, listen, guys, the strike zone is actually not that thing you see on an MLB game, that rectangle. That's not the strike zone. The strike zone is what the umpire says it is. Because if he calls it a strike, it's a strike. So as you're watching the game from the dugout, as you're having that first at bat, one of the things I always love to do with an umpire is if he called the pitch an inch off the plate or 2 inches off the plate, and I thought, okay, that's a ball, I would say, hey, Ron, is that as far as you'll go? Is that corner? Is that corner? Okay. Now I've kind of locked him into that. Because if he tells me that's corner, and then he calls one 2 inches further off the next pitch, I can turn back and say, Ron, you just told me that was corner. That's further off. And most of the time, they're going to acknowledge that. Right? So I like to lock him into his zone. If he calls a pitch an inch above the zone, I say, hey, is that top? Is that top of the zone? Bottom? Is that inside corner? Is that as far as you'll go? Right? These are questions that aren't argumentative. They're just, you're trying to get a feel for where his zone is. And what you'll find is that an umpire, generally what I found was that when they tell you, hey, that's corner, they're pretty good about, they know in the back of their mind, they just told you that's corner. So that next pitch that's really close but a little further off, they're going to ball it. Right? It's not every time. But that's what I like to do in that first at bat, is establish his zone based on the pitches. Now, You can even make a funny joke when a ball's right down the middle. Say, hey Ron, you got that middle? And they'll kind of look at you like, what? That is that middle? That's middle of the plate for you. But establish that strike zone. Establish the strike zone by asking questions. And again, not in an argumentative way. Your first at bat, don't do that. You just want to be like, hey Ron, is that corner? Is that outside corner? Okay. Is that bottom of the zone? Okay. So establish the strike zone with the umpire your first at bat, but you need to watch from the dugout as well. Is he calling up? Is he calling down? Right? It's harder to see out and in from the dugout, but you can see down, you can see up. So if he's consistently calling that pitch that far below the zone, it's not an excuse when you go up there and strike out on a pitch this far below the zone and say that's a ball. Well, he's been calling it a strike all night, so it's a strike. So with 2 strikes, we need to adjust our zone based on the umpire. I'm going to draw this again so you guys can really get a good feel for this, even though my marker's dying on me. So the strike zone is here with 2 strikes. I need to expand out. Not a lot. Couple inches, right? Especially in high school and even in college, a couple inches outside of the zone, that's my protect zone. If even though I think it's a ball, I got to protect. I got to try to foul it off. Because ultimately, that's a pitch where, especially in a big situation, I cannot go down swinging. And I know I can't do much with it. I'm just trying to foul it off. I got to protect. Okay? Remember, this inside corner, this inside corner place right here, I'm just trying to fight this off. I'm not trying to turn on this. I'm letting the ball get deep. I'm thinking left center direction. Okay? If I'm left center direction as a left-handed hitter, I'm going to stay on changeups. I'm going to stay on sliders. And I can fight inside a fastball. Did you guys know that you can square up an inner third fastball and drive it to the left center gap? You got to move pretty efficiently as a hitter. Path's got to be right, swing's got to be good, but you can do that. So don't get what I see with a lot of guys is with 2 strikes, they try to speed up their bat to fight off pitches, and they're just pull side direction, and they ultimately just end up swinging, miss, and striking out. So with 2 strikes, we need to be thinking opposite gap direction, left-handed hitter, left center field gap direction, expanding the zone a little bit, because we just, again, especially in a big situation, if you want to not really expand with nobody on base and no outs, okay, fine. But with the guys in scoring position, we cannot go down looking. It is not an excuse to be like, well, he called it 2 inches off the plate. That's going to get called a strike so many times. It gets called a strike in the big leagues too. Not nearly as much, but it does. So we have to expand our zone when we're in big situations, not by a lot, by 1.5 inches, 2 inches, at least to give you some wiggle room. That way, when he does make a good pitch you can handle, you're going to put a good swing on it. What I found with 2 strikes is that typically how it starts is if they try to bust me in, I foul it off. I'm late. I'm inside it. I'm almost like trying to get jammed on an inside pitch. I just don't want to get around. I want to get jammed going this way rather than hit it this way. What you'll find is that after you fight off a few pitches, all of a sudden your body starts reacting quicker and recognizing pitches quicker. And a lot of times you foul off 3 or 4 pitches, and then he throws you a fastball middle in, and you're on it. Because you've just seen the pitch so many times, and you've seen his other stuff, your body, your mind and your eyes read the pitch way quicker, and you react quicker, all right? What this will do for you as a hitter is, again, think about it like this, guys. When you strike out, you're always out. When you strike out, your batting average always goes down. It always goes down. When you put the ball in play with 2 strikes, your batting average isn't going to be 0. Your on-base percentage isn't going to be 0. Your slugging percentage isn't going to be 0. But what we've done in the game today is we just said strikeouts are no different than any other out. Who said that? Who said that? And then who believed that? That striking out's no different. Now, are there situations where you'd rather a guy strike out than hit a ground ball? Sure. Bases loaded, 1 out. You don't want a guy to ground into double play. So you either hit the ball in the air or you strike out. That's a specific situation, though. There's a lot of situations where we'd always rather you put the ball in play than strike out. And again, guys, don't fall into that mindset. That is not what elite hitters do. The best hitters in the big leagues are putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. Freddie Freeman, choking up, going the other way with 2 strikes. Right? Don't fall into this mindset of I'm just going to swing for the fences every time, because most of you guys are not good enough to do that. There's very few guys that can make it in the big leagues doing that, and you're probably not one of them, at least not yet. So let me know what you think about this, guys. Again, we're moving our decision window back when we get to 2 strikes. We're expanding our zone a little bit. We're fighting the inside pitch off. We're not trying to get that. We're not trying to do anything with that inside pitch. We're letting the ball travel. We're letting it get deep. Ultimately, if you do these things, you will be a much better hitter with 2 strikes. Let me know what you think in the comments.